So I was saying how grateful we were for all of you who are still sending Tahiti, despite the challenges. And I was also explaining how currently we're just reopening to the United States. We will be one of the requirements to meet for us to reopen to the world is that we reach a 50% collective immunity, meaning that 50% of the population has to be vaccinated. Currently, there are massive vaccination campaigns happening all around Tahiti, all around Moorea, and it's happening also in the outer islands. At this time, as of today, 30% of the population has, it's 30,000. It's really 50% of the population has been vaccinated or has at least received the first shot. And the authorities are hoping to reach the 50% collective immunity by July. So that's the first thing. In terms of the requirements to enter, so again, it is mainly for travelers from the United States. If you have, and we had the case, if you have clients residing in Mexico, or in Canada, I guess Canada won't really be a problem here because they're closed anyways. But we have had cases where where clients were actually living in Mexico and they can travel between the US, but for anyone not residing in the US, they have to have spent 1 month in the United States before coming to Tahiti. And of course, we all understand that it is going to be a requirement that is not reachable because I don't think anyone would want to spend 1 month in the US before coming to Tahiti. So, voila. So, sorry. Okay, so the conditions to enter. All of travelers who have been vaccinated will have to have had it's not CPR. Oh yeah, even I lose my brain. Okay, an RT-PCR test that has to have been done 3 days prior departure. They also have to have registered on the ETIS platform, which is our ESTA, sanitary ESTA form. When they are also on ETIS, they will also have to fill out another form that is called the Mes Demandes. It's called Démarche Simplifiée. This website, this authorization is for, okay. This a travel authorization is for compelling reasons to travel to Tahiti. So in fact, to enter Tahiti, you would have to have your ETIS form filled out. This information on ETIS is going to go to the Ministry of Health. So if anything happens where it's easy for us to reach you, there will be that compelling reason travel authorization form also. And you will need to show a PCR test done 3 days prior departure. Once you are here, you will have an antigenic test performed at the airport, and you will have the result as you leave after collecting the luggage. And then if you are vaccinated, that's all we require from you. We have just been advised also that the tests that are going to be made here will also be charged. At this time, we don't know when they will be charged, but they will be charged at one point. Yes, that's what we need. And the last thing also is that once you are here, there will be another test 3 days, within 3 days, 3 days after your arrival. Okay, I hope it's clear. If it's not clear, we'll send you the form anyways. So vaccinated travelers, you need the ETIS form. You need to fill out the form for the compelling reason to travel to Tahiti. You need your RT-PCR test. And then you need, upon arrival, you will have an antigenic test. And then 4 days after your arrival, you will have another test to do. So this is for the vaccinated guests, travelers. For those who have not been vaccinated but can prove their immunity, it's going to be pretty much the same process, meaning that you still have the ETIs, you still have the compelling reason authorization form. You had your PCR test at the done 3 days prior departure. But in addition to this, prior departing, you also have to show a positive serology test to prove that you have the antibodies. This test must have been done between 30 days or 15 days prior departure. Once you are here, then you will have the antigenic test and the test at D+4. For everybody else who cannot prove immunity and who have not been vaccinated, it's still the same process, but there will be a quarantine of 10 days while in Tahiti. It's going to be at the traveler's charge, and there will be another test at D+8 days before they leave their quarantine, and then they can travel around the island. So that's what I had to say for the entry conditions. So, if you have any questions,
Mary, all of these forms and all of the links we will send through in the follow-up email to everybody, just to make sure that everybody is aware of that. But essentially, I think to sum up what Mere has been saying is that Tahiti, really, it is the easiest option is for vaccinated travelers. And that is the easiest option to get to Tahiti. So this is a destination which is reopening mainly to the vaccinated people.
Yes, yeah. Actually, maybe that's the easiest way to put it. It's really what we want to promote is really travels for vaccinated travelers. Okay, so I said that the tests were going to be charged to guests. So currently they're not charged, but when they will become charged, we will inform travelers anyways. The tests will be able to be paid for online when you fill out the ETIS form. So you don't have to pay for it while here. I can give you the cost of those. So the rates are 5,000 XPF, so that's about $50 for vaccinated and immunized travelers. And for all the other travelers, it's going to be 12,000 XPF, and that's about $120. The difference in the cost is that the number of tests is going to be different. The processing is going to be different between the ones who have not been vaccinated, who are not immune, compared to the vaccinated and immunized travelers.
Yes. Okay. And Mire, one more question that is coming through is a vacation a compelling reason to visit Tahiti?
Absolutely, it is a compelling reason. And actually, in the form, because we went to look at the form, it is going to show that there are going to be 3 options: tourism, business, and the other thing is, I can't remember, but whatever. What your clients need to check, or what you have to check, is going to be the tourism box.
Okay, so we've established tourism is an essential, the tourism is an essential and compelling reason to travel to Tahiti, seeing as that they rely on the income. So this is, just to clarify for everyone on the call, this is separate from the electronic ESTA type ETIS visa. This is a separate and new process. And again, we will send you the links for where you register your compelling reasons. as well. So this is a new part of the process. One question, though, about testing requirements for children under the age of 16.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's a very not good topic to bring up. In fact, thank you for this question because I forgot it. But in fact, families who have children who cannot be vaccinated are actually, I actually don't recommend them to come because they will have to go through quarantine. You can yell, you can be upset, because I was very upset about this. I sent a message to the Minister of Tourism board about that, and they said no. So for families with children who are not vaccinated and who cannot be vaccinated, if you want to travel, if they want to travel to Tahiti, they will have all to go through quarantine. We at Tahiti Island Travel are actually losing a lot of business like this because we have more and more families coming to Tahiti, and we're losing a big amount of business just because families have to go through quarantine if their children are not vaccinated.
Okay, thank you for clarifying that. So,
thank you for asking.
And just one more question. Sorry, there's a lot of people needing clarification. Is the cost for the testing, is this this is charged once or for every test that is taken?
It's going to be, actually, it's a good question. Charged once, but you know what? Let me ask. Because it says that upon arrival tests, so I would believe that it's all. I will inquire. Hang on, just a second.
So
we're in Tahiti anyway, so might as well ask now.
So very good questions. This is all information that is just at hand, and we needed to get it out to you as soon as possible. So thank you for your patience with our beautiful island destination and with us. But we're glad to get the information into your hands as soon as we have it. So I hope this is proving helpful.
It is for all the tests.
Okay.
So all of the tests, it's a package. It's a test package that we promote. But yeah, the 5,000 XPF is going to be for the test upon arrival, the antigenic test, and the test at D+4.
Great, thank you.
Voila, and obviously the 12,000 XPF for the other travelers, we have to add also the test at D+8. D+4 and D+8.
That's great, and we'll put that all in the follow-up email to everybody as well. One more question, which kind of leads us into the rest of the presentation today, is that they're asking: is there testing requirements between islands? So do you have to test when you move between the islands?
No. The testing is done in Tahiti. If it's a D+4, it's going to be wherever you are in the islands. But no, if you go from Tahiti to, if you go to Moorea, from Moorea to Taha or Taha to Bora Bora, there is not going to be any other testing required. It's just that one shot upon arrival at D+4. So again, as you said, and it's a very, very point, if you are vaccinated, then things are going to be so much more easier.
Great. Thank you very much.
There?
Thanks. That's all the questions so far.
Okay. All right. So let's carry on with our presentation and move to the islands of Tahiti. So last time we talked about we talked about the Society Islands here. Why is it not working? Voila. Okay, here we talked about the Society Islands, and we mentioned specifically Tahiti, Moorea, and Bora Bora, and Taha also, and Taha. Today, I'd like to take you to the other part of French Polynesia, and they include the other islands of the Society Islands. We're going to talk about the Tuamotu, which some of you know. Of course, we're going to talk about here the Marquesas up north. And then we're going to go. I also want to tell you a bit about the Australs and about the Gambiers further down. So, oh yeah, we. Voilà. So let's move down. Let's scroll down. Ren, how do I do that? I'm sorry. I'm from the islands. I don't know how to handle.
So you just need to turn
what?
Turn the marker off. Yeah.
Is it here? Or your highlighter? No, it's not even that. Whiteboard? No. Boop. Sorry, guys. Okay. Voilà. Sorry. Oh, yeah, wait. Attends. I had to erase all of this. I know you must be. Sorry. Okay. So the first island we're going to go to is going to be Raiatea. Raiatea shares the same lagoon as Taha. And as you already know, or not, it's okay. Taha, for all of the guests going to Taha, guests have to first land to Raiatea. And from Raiatea, there is a 45-minute shuttle boat that takes guests from the airport to Taha or to the Huahine Island in Taha. But Raiatea itself is not necessarily an island that we talk a lot about, but to us Polynesians, it's very, very important. We call it the sacred island because it's also where we believe that a lot of the canoes, a lot of the sailors, a lot of the, as you know, Polynesians are sailors, they're voyagers, and a lot of the voyagers started here in Hawaii Kinui. We have one of the biggest religious sites. It's called Taputapuatea. It is now even part of the UNESCO list of site heritage of the humanity heritage. I don't even know how to call that, but it's part of the UNESCO. But Raiatea also has the only navigable river. It's the best place to start even sailings around the islands. So if you have guests traveling on catamarans, most of them will be starting from Raiatea. And from Raiatea, they go to Taha or Bora Bora or Huahine. Raiatea, as you can see also, it's the third, hang on, it's this one, this flower here. The white flower is called the Tiare apitahi. It's an endemic flower in Raiatea, and it can only be found on Mount Temehani, which is the highest mount in Raiatea. You would go to Raiatea really for cultural experiences. We have guides who will tell you about the origins of Polynesia. They will tell us about the traditions, the religious rites, but also what happened on those mare. Taputapuatea, for example, was the main an important location for religious, political, and cultural events, not just today, but also in ancient times. Ren, do you want to share your experience with Raiatea?
Absolutely. So Raiatea is very, very significant culturally for all of Polynesia. So if you have guests who are traveling onwards to New Zealand, then there's quite a very clear link as the Maori people of New Zealand originally came through and migrated from Raiatea. So if you have a dual destination client, then definitely where I would send them. And it actually is also where I got married last year as well.
Thank you, Ren. Raiatea does not have any 5-star properties, not even not even 4-star, but we have very nice lodges, small hotels. The Reatea Lodge is very nice. But again, you're going to the Reatea, you're going to promote Reatea for those who are looking to be connected with culture and traditions. We're going to move to Huahine. Huahine is my favorite island because I felt that they have kept the authenticity. The first time I went to Huahine was when I was 6, and I went back years later, and it was still the same feeling. The people were still very inviting, very warm, very welcoming. Huahine also has some religious sites that you can see top left, mares, and what the big picture that you see is actually a fish trap. So what happened is that the ancient Tahitians built a labyrinth in the water, and so they would get all of the fish going in this labyrinth, and they would get trapped. And so it was pretty much their fridge, food storage, sorry, and they would get the fish there anytime they needed fish. Huahine, I think, to me, also has a beautiful lagoon with different hues of blues in just one area. You go to Huahine because it's very green. That's what we call our garden island. It's very green, very lush, but there's some religious, religious, but also very cultural experience that you can have there. So in addition to the mare, to the fish trap here that you can see, we also have the sacred eels that you see at the bottom left. Just quickly, I won't tell you the story now, but in Polynesian traditions, the coconut tree is actually from an eel. And in ancient time, there was a princess who was named Hina. And a big sacred eel was in love with her, but then she wanted, of course, she was scared of the eel, and she called upon Hiro, who came to defend her. So Hiro actually fought with the eel, and they cut. I know, Marge, no eels. I agree with you, but so Hiro cut the head of the eel. But before dying, the eel told Hina, "One day you will be kissing me." And so Hina, of course, was very disgusted. But anyways, when Hiro cut the head of the eel, he gave it to Hina, and he said, "You're going to go back to your village, but make sure that you do not put the head on the ground." Eventually, it was so hot. Hina went back to her village, but on the way, it was so hot. She stopped at a river. She bathed, but she had left the head at the bottom. I mean, on the floor, on the ground, and a big noise happened, and the head of the eel fell in the ground, and what came out was a big coconut tree. And of course, at that time, we didn't call it a coconut tree. But anyways, so there was a drought. Some years later, there was a drought, and the only tree that had fruits was that coconut tree. And as you can see, the trunk of the coconut tree would represent the eel of the body of the eel. And when they husked actually the fruit, it was when they husked the coconut, they pierced one side of the coconut. And when Hina looked at it, she saw it was like, and you will see it when you come, but you see that one side of the coconut has something like 2 eyes, a nose, and a mouth. And when she drank from the coconut, she remembered what the eel said. So she was actually drinking from the coconut, which is actually the head of the eel. And that's why we call those the sacred eels. Anyway, so that was the story. But in Huahine, you can also do some hikes around the island. Not a lot, but there can be some very interesting ones. What I did when I went to Huahine was a jet ski tour, because of course we have the beautiful lagoon, and we stopped at a motu. We had a Oh, I forget. Oh, a poisson cru demonstration, and we had lunch fit in the water. So it was a very nice experience, and it's going to be for your clients who are looking just to freeze and to just enjoy going out in the islands. There's a lot, there is some culture, there's some beach, there's some adventure, and there's some laid back experiences as well. Then we go to Tetiaroa. Tetiaroa, I don't think we covered it the last time, but as you know, Tetiaroa is Marlon Brando's island, and that's where you would have to go if you want to stay at the Brando. For your information, the Brando is not going to reopen in May. They're going to reopen hopefully in June. We will give you, and Ren will give you more information as we get it. So in Tetiaroa, as you can see, it's an atoll. It's actually just 15 minutes by plane from Tahiti. And truly, for your clients who are going to Tetiaroa, in addition to the fact that they're going to the Brando and it's the top-notch hotel experience that you can have in the islands. But my mother was born and raised in Tahiti. Her family is from Tahiti. Her mother's side is from the Tuamotu, but her father's side is from Tahiti. But my mom never set foot in Tetiaroa because it has always been a private island. In ancient time, it was reserved to the royal family, and then it was bought. It was in private, and then it was bought by Marlon Brando. But anyone going to Tetiaroa is a privilege, not just because they're going to the Brando, but because even our ancestors, some of them have never set foot on Tetiaroa. So what a privilege. Tetiaroa is also plays a sanctuary for animals, for the birds, for the turtles. When I was in the last time I was at the Brando, some years ago, some turtles had actually laid eggs on the beach. And I was born and raised in Tahiti. I had never seen that before, but then I could experience that in Tetiaroa. So it's not just about the resort experience, but it's also about the nature experience around the island. In these islets, one of them has preserved the vegetation that existed prior to the arrival of men in this area of the world. So voila, Tetiaroa with the bird island. They also have endemic plants, but you learn about the protection and the importance of these creatures in our ecosystem. And of course, we cannot knock the Brando, which is a very unique resort experience all throughout French Polynesia. It's the only all-inclusive property in our islands. And I have seen the first time I went, because I went twice, but the first time I went to the Brando, I was just to spend a day. We came back, and on the plane, the small little plane here, we had a family who was crying the whole 15 minutes because they loved their experience at the Brando. And if you remember, I told you the last time, Tahiti is not just about beautiful beaches, but the real wealth of our destination is the people. And when those guests left Tetiaroa, the Brando, they were not missing the Brando. They were missing the experience. They were missing the exchange they had with the staff, because that's where the wealth of our destination truly lies. So here you have an idea of how the property looks like. It's very organic. It's very a lot of wood, a lot of local material, but really beautiful. And they have, of course, 1, 2, and 3 bedroom units, and they have just recently opened a residence that can accommodate 6 guests. Okay, so now I'd like to take you to the Australs. The Australs are actually further south of Tahiti, Yes, Austral. Well, that's why it's called Austral. In Tahitian, we call them Tuhape. Tuhape, it's really, Pe is 5. So there are actually 5 islands that make the Austral Islands. The Australs are really the heart of our agriculture. As you can see here, top in the middle, you have a dad walking in a taro patch with his son. But we have a lot of a lot of vegetables coming from the Australs. We have potatoes, taro, of course, with potatoes, but also carrots and cabbage. But it's really the agricultural heart of our islands. They're very well known also. They're very much visited between July and October because the whales are traveling there. Actually, we had a group who wanted to go to Rurutu in September, but the whole island is sold out. No more room, no more space, nowhere. What you do when you go to the Australs is you visit a lot of caves, as you can see, but it's very untouched. The beaches are beautiful. If you go to the island of Reivave, we call it the pool island because the lagoon is just like a big pool, and you have the experience with the locals, and it really adds to what can be experienced in French Polynesia. The Australs here in our islands, the Austral are also well known for their expertise in weaving. As you can see, the mama at the bottom, in the middle, they probably are the best weavers all around our islands, and that's what they're known for. So when you go to the Australs, or if you don't get to go to the Austral, you can go to the market, but you would have to buy either a basket or a hat made by the mamas. For your information, for all of our guests traveling with Tahiti Islands Travel, they're given a woven wallet with all of the travel documents, and those are shipped from the Australs to here. And for every booking that comes through us, you have 10 euros that are going back to the Australs to pay those mamas who are making those woven wallets. And we're very proud to partner with them, not only to showcase their art, but also to contribute economically to their lives. Then we go, quickly. Huh? So we have the Australs here. Okay, and now we're going here to the Gambiers. The Gambiers are actually known for the black pearl farming. And so you've heard about Robert Van's pearls, and his farms are actually down here in the Gambiers. And you can see the pearls here. And those pearls, this picture is not taken from a picture from Tahiti tourism site or anything. These pearls are coming from my friend's farm. He's got a farm in Rikitea in Mangareva, and these are the pearls that he's collected, that he's harvested. And actually, when you go, in fact, around the jewelry store, you can recognize the pearls from the Gambiers. So the Gambiers, when I went to the Gambiers, it was in December, and it was lychee season that you see at the top left. Lychee, because the airport is actually not located on the main island, it's located on the Motu, and you have to take a shuttle boat from the airport to the main village. And already as we were approaching the village, I could see like red things on trees, and those red things were actually the red fruits, the red lychee fruits. And so we were there for about 10 days. And I think after the fifth day, I just had too much lychee, but they're so sweet and the seeds are so small. But it's one of the islands where you get those lychees, and they're so cheap also, because once they get to Tahiti, then the price of the per kilo is much higher. But the Gambiers is also what you see in the middle is a tower of King Tetiaroa, who was the last ruler of the Gambier Islands. And the cathedral that you see was the first cathedral built in French Polynesia. It's called the Cathedral St. Michael. It was renovated when I went. I don't remember, it was some years ago. But just for information, historically talking, the Catholics, when they came to French Polynesia, they wanted to go to the Society Islands, but the Protestant missionaries were already there, so they decided to move away, and so they they went to the Gambiers south, and they also went to the Marquesas. So the Marquesas and the Gambier Islands were actually the first headquarters of the Catholic Church when they came to French Polynesia, because the Society Islands were already occupied by the Protestants. But you will see when you go to the Gambier, you will see a lot of remnants of that very strong Catholic influence in the islands. But did you also know that in the Gambier, you actually have 53 colors of sand around the island? I couldn't get a picture here, but when I went to Rikitea, to Mangareva, the main village is called Rikitea, but we did the circle island, and already I was surprised because I had never seen brown sand, and I was like, oh, that's mud. And my friend was like, no, go and touch, and it's sand. And so already on the island of Mangareva, I could see there was pink sand, white sand, beige sand, black sand, brown sand, and I found out that they were actually in the outer islands outside of Mangareva. You have green, olive. It's not really olivine, but it's green, and you have other different shades. But Gambier are not very much visited, at least not by Americans, much more by Europeans. And I understand, because language can be a challenge, but truly it's not really, pretty much everybody speaks English. But then the Gambier, you would go to the Gambier, not just for pearl farming, but also just to explore. I was amazed to see that the fruits on the trees were so big. Like on one property, there were like 10 different varieties of mangoes. And me coming from Tahiti, I had not seen that before, but 10 varieties on one land, it's quite big. But voila, the Gambier is an island that has to be known, and that have to be visited for those who have special interests. So those interests would even be something like a pilgrimage, for those who are interested or who like to know about Catholic history, Catholicism spreading around the world, but also just to explore the world. The Gambier would be one of those places. And remember, 53 different colors of sand. I will get a picture of these. Then we go to the Tuamotu, and as you can see here, there is almost no difference between the lagoon, the open ocean, and the sky. Tua means horizon, and Motu means island. So it's really the island out of the horizon. So the Tuamotu, if you are looking for a place to do hiking and to do land experience, it's not really going to be the Tuamotu, because it's all going to be about blue water, snorkeling, diving, and pearl farming also. But I guarantee you, the pearls in the Gambier are very, very different from the ones in the Tuamotu, even though the ones from the Tuamotu are also beautiful. So let's go per island. As you can see, there is really nothing. It's the sand, the ocean, and the fish and the water. You can do some different things. Most of the experiences that are done in the Tuamotu is often picnic on a motu after exploring the lagoon. In some islands, for example, in Fakarava, you can do jet ski and you can also do some quad. It's quite a fun experience, in fact. But if you have divers or underwater lovers, then the Tuamotu are really going to be the best place. You can visit pearl farms also. If your clients are not going all the way to the Tuamotu to visit a pearl farm, it is possible to do that in Taha. When they go to either Eate or Taha, they have pearl farm there. Rangiroa, this is a blue lagoon. Rangiroa means a big sky. It is the second largest atoll in the world, but Rangiroa is known for diving. Currently, it's the hammerhead shark season, so you can do some drift snorkeling in the Tiputa Pass. The first time I did that, I think I crushed the guide's hand when we were underwater because I was so scared. But then it was so impressive to see manta rays underneath and Napoleons. Even though I'm an island girl, I get scared of those big animals in the water. But voila, you have Rangiroa, Tikehau with the black sand beaches, Tikehau, also by Captain Cousteau, said that Tikehau had the most, had a very rich lagoon with a lot of fish in a very concentrated area. And of course, Fakarava, which would be the mecca for divers, either at the north or the south, where you have walls of sharks, schools of fish, manta rays, hammerhead sharks also. But voila, if you want to have that ultimate diving experience, it's going to be Fakarava. Many times, only one of in a couple, usually the ladies don't necessarily dive. Well, I'm sorry, but they won't have anything else to do than stay out on the beach or snorkeling, because really the Tuamotu is not about hiking and it's not about doing things in the nature. The only nature in the islands would be the coconut groves or the underwater. And then we move to the Marquesas. Marquesas is also known as the land of man. It's called Hinua Inanna in Marquesian. There are two groups of islands, the North Group and the South Group. The North Group is with Nukuhiva and Uopo. And the Southern Group would have Hivaoa and Uahuka and Tahuata. But the Marquesas are really a destination within the islands of Tahiti. For example, when you talk to a Marquesian, he's never going to tell you that he's Tahitian. He is a Marquesian. They have a very strong cultural identity. So you would visit the Marquesas on a cruise with the Aranui. That's what we recommend. Or we can also work on programs either in Hivaoa, Nukuhiva, but also in Uahuka. Fatuhiva, this is in Fatuhiva at the Virgin Bay, the Bay of the Virgin. But as you can see, it's the sceneries are very different from what you can see here in Bora Bora or even Tahiti. The beaches are different. It's not a beach destination because it's much more oriented with culture and traditions. When I went to the Marquesas, probably the first time, it was probably about 15, 18 years ago, I was very surprised to see that people were still traveling from a village to another on horseback. Because it's so, the roads are not, you don't have big roads around the island, but then they will have to use horseback. You can see here a church, as I told you, when the Catholics came the first time, because the Protestants were already in the Society Islands, they went to the south, to the Gambiers, and to the north in the Marquesas, and you have beautiful Catholic churches around the islands. The bottom, the middle picture with the flowers, this is what we call the umuhei. Umuhei is a flower composition that is given to women. One of the islands that does it still again today is on the island of not Uahuka, on Fatuhiva. And it's actually used to attract men. And it says to have aphrodisiac powers. I have not tested, but anyways. But still, you know, even for us in Tahiti, wearing a kumuhei is something special because it requires a lot of flowers. It requires tiare Tahiti. It requires sandal. It requires basil. But you also have to have a savoir-faire, which is really something found in the Marquesas. Marquesians are also well known for their carving, not just on wood, but also on stone and on bones. The Marquesas have some are well preserved religious sites, but some also had to be renovated. But I tell you that when you go to the Marquesas, the spirit is very, very strong. They have a chant. In New Zealand, they have a welcoming chant, but in the Marquesas also, it's called the Mavi Mai. You've heard about the mana, embrace the mana in French Polynesia when you do things with Tahiti tourism. But you know what? The mana is beyond whatever you can ever think about. The mana, when we got to Nukuhiva, we went to Le Nukuhiva. At that time, it was called the Kekahanui Nukuhiva Lodge. We had that Marquesian lady who was standing at the entrance of the hotel, and she started to chant. And you know what? Again, I tell you, I'm a Tahitian born and raised in the islands, but I had goosebumps from the tip of my toes to the top of my head, and I could feel the mana. The mana is the power of their ancestors, the spirit of the islands, and it was all around here. And you could feel it through her voice, through the words she was saying. I couldn't understand everything, but I could understand that there was some power. And going to the Marquesas is all about learning about the traditions, the culture. You talk about tattoo, but the word tattoo comes from there. And when Captain Cook brought that knowledge to the Western world, then tattoo became a word. But all of this came from the Marquesas, and it is a very rich destination, not just in culture, not just in tradition, but the people are beautiful. When you talk to and I think that the Marquesians speak French better than we even do here on Tahiti. The children are beautiful when they talk to you, when they speak to you, it's like they're chanting. But my experience in the Marquesas is something that I'll never forget. And then I had the privilege to go on the Aranui again. And then I had the chance to visit all the other different islands. But it's very, very rich in tradition and culture. And if you have clients, if you have guests who are looking for something different, I think the Marquesas would be the place. You can do some hikes. Look at those valleys, the canyon. That's even in Nukuhiva. And then you have the waterfalls that cannot even be seen unless you go in the valleys. And you know what? This guy on the horse is not even a picture especially done for Tahiti tourism, because it's really how I saw them traveling from one village to the other. And I think I was in Hivaoa when that happened. And here is another view of the Marquesas here in Nukuhiva. In Hivaoa, it's known for the Tuamotu site, which has the largest tikis. And then here is the Aranui. My experience on the Aranui was very, very unique. This is in Uahuka. When I was on the Aranui, we had people who were working in the French Navy. But the boat, actually, when the boat enters, it's actually not like that. The front of the boat is entering the bay, but then the boat has to maneuver to be just ready to leave. And for this, and look how narrow this area is. And even the people from the French Navy were looking at what they were doing, moving the boat in this bay, and they said they had never seen anything like that. But the staff on the Aranui are local. Most of them are local. But I remember also when the Paul Gauguin did their first cruise in the Marquesas, they actually had to call for the local boys, the Marquesians, to come on board to help maneuvering the ship, because they were not very they were not used to traveling in these waters. But you know what? It tells us that Polynesians are voyagers, and their home is the sea. And what they said on the movie Moana is not so, it is very true. Polynesians are voyagers. And when you see at the area of French Polynesia, it's as big as Europe. But imagine, the Polynesians did not just travel within French Polynesia, they came from beyond French Polynesia. So here are pictures of the Aranui, the cabins. It's very nice experience, very local. I enjoyed it, and the staff on board is so much fun. But voilà, if you have any questions, if you need more information, please don't hesitate. We'd be happy to assist you with Ren and to give you all the information that you need about our islands. Maruru!
Marururoa. Thank you very much, Merihani. Thank you for taking us through. I think all of us have been locked in our homes largely, and it's just been so lovely to escape to paradise with you. And the Marquesas, I think, they are, if you have a type of client that is an expedition type of client that has been to Africa multiple times and wants to find somewhere that's, really undiscovered, I think you've got a lot of options today, but particularly the Marquesas, just real, raw, beautiful people and beautiful place. And we talked earlier about the connection of other Pacific people traveling through Raiatea. Well, it's very interesting because when I see a Marquesan, I can actually speak with them in my language. And sometimes we understand each other a little bit more as Maori than some other Tahitians. It's interesting how cultures like that work as well.
Mm-hmm.
So that was really helpful, and thank you for helping us through all of the new conditions that that we have as to arrive into paradise. We have a couple of questions. I hope you have time to answer. But so another question is, do we think that most restaurants will open once visitors are allowed back? Will the resorts continue their evening shows and cultural performances?
Yes, absolutely. So the restaurants are open. There's still the curfew in Tahiti and Moorea. It's at 10. But then if we're talking about the restaurants in Tahiti, they are open. Most of the restaurants in the hotels are also going to be open. I know that for most of them, they will carry their Polynesian shows.
Okay. And moving back to the questions around quarantine. So if we think that children under the age of 16, do we think that will change by festive season? And the reason why I think it's a good question is that they're starting to vaccinate younger people under 16 in America. So I think that that's going to help us a lot. But do you think you see any change by festive in Tahiti?
Actually, to be absolutely honest, I have no idea. But when I sent a message to Tahiti Tourism, their CEO responded saying, because of course, it is a concern to us that the families cannot travel, especially because the children cannot be vaccinated anyways. But then the CEO said that the conditions are going to evolve anyways, and hopefully they will evolve faster than we hope. And so I think that by the festive season, we should be able to have a lot of the conditions made lighter. And also remember that one of the conditions for us to reopen fully is to reach the 50% collective immunity. So that's 50% of the population to be vaccinated. And we're working very hard. They have vaccination campaigns happening. I got my first shot 2 weeks ago. My next one is going to be in 2 weeks. But then people are getting vaccinated also. So we hope that, with the protocol, the entry protocol will evolve as the population gets vaccinated, but also as other improvements are made, on the international level, and especially in France.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
So I think there are good chances that families will be able to come. For example, at Tahiti Islands Travel, we have recommended our families to consider to come in August.
Okay. Families in August. And that gives you time to plan too.
Voila. So it's not because we know that the protocol would have changed, but it's because we believe that it's going to change, it would have evolved, and in a good way.
Okay. Yep, that sounds good to me. And then one very last question, because I know you like this one, is asking for recommendations on transportation. specifically on Tahiti, Mo'orea, and Bora Bora, what would your recommendations be for transportation?
Transportation. Okay, so between Tahiti and Mo'orea, okay, we have different options because of course Tahiti Islands travel, we're more into the high-end luxury market, and we would often do helicopters between Tahiti and Mo'orea because it's no way we're going to put them on a ferry. And planes, sometimes it's just for a 7 minutes flight. But I would highly recommend to do Tahiti and Mo'orea from Tahiti to Mo'orea by ferry, because you know what, just that is an experience. It's like an excursion. You leave the biggest island and then you cross the channel. Sometimes you see dolphins even right at the pass in Papeete, and then when you arrive in Mo'orea, sometimes you see the dolphins. But you know what, you have that feeling of the first navigators. You're approaching an island because it's the only time you're going to approach an island by boat, and you see already you see the waves around the reef, and then you see the islands and you approach. So I think ferry is good, but this is definitely between Mo'orea and the other islands, it's only going to be Air Tahiti or a private flight. Did I answer the question?
Yes, exactly. But also I think one thing that you've always advocated for is private transfers. Just to make that little bit...
okay. Yeah, of course. We would actually, as much as possible, we have some contracts with private jets, of course. And sometimes when the private jets are not available, then we have to charter the whole plane, a whole Air Tahiti plane. You have to count about 3 million XPF, so that's what, 300,000 euros to charter a plane. Perfect. One way. But helicopters also can be interesting. Maybe not between Tahiti and Bora Bora, but Tahiti and Mo'orea is great. And Bora Bora and the other islands is also great. Oh, another thing about helicopters, and I hope we will see that come back again in the Marquesas, but Tahiti Nui Helicopter just sent 2 helicopters that are going to be based 24/7 in the Marquesas. The first purpose of these helicopters is for sanitary reasons. If they have to transfer one sick person from an island to the other, but hopefully, I hope to see helicopter transfers between island to island, because I've done that the first time and it is just amazing.
Beautiful. Well, thank you everyone for bearing with us in our technology issues in the beginning. We will get all of this information through to you. It's hot off the press. We've just got it ourselves and we knew that we needed to get it out to you. So thank you for joining in, and we'll make...
Ren, just quickly, I just wanted to remind you that so the Brando is not going to reopen before June. Hopefully, Le Taha'a is going to reopen on May the 12th, and Le Bora Bora is going to reopen on May 19th. All of the other resorts will be opening at least on the 3rd or the 5th of May.
Perfect.
Voilà.
All right. Thank you, everybody. Be well. Marururoa. Thank you very much.
Nana.